Yeah, so for Unity Road, they obviously, if you've been following them for years, they were the first franchise in the country for cannabis. They started out as One Cannabis. That's when we met them. And they're arguably the largest cannabis franchise in this country, possibly many other countries. I don't know if Canada, you might have some stiff competition up there, but I would argue that they have a different kind of problem up there. I won't get into, but yeah. So Justin's a good friend of us, good friend of ours. We met him down in, I think, Cancun, and they run a real solid operation. They were since acquired by a large operation, Item 9 Labs, and I think their market cap last I looked was 200 million. So very impressive team for a discovery day. We actually went and did a video interview, when we visited their facility in Colorado and saw their, I believe it was 80,000 or 180,000 square foot cultivation facility. Incredibly impressive. Beautiful. Yeah, very knowledgeable team. And we're just excited to have them on the 10X crew at this point.
Guys, I think you're going to be thrilled by this. Not only are we bringing the biggest, player in franchising to the table, but they are actively acquiring licenses in a variety of locations. And, if those licenses are attached to a franchisee, that's one. But if they're not, we can have Justin send us lists of where they're acquiring licenses so you can go after and geo-target your candidates. And I know Peter can work with you on geo-targeting as well. And that is huge, guys. That's huge because, again, what you know in franchising is great, but what you know in cannabis, in other words, how to nurture the deal and get it through and get the licensing thought as a afterthought. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you're going to get a license, and like, okay, you're in New York, we've got people coming to us right now begging for Florida, and we're like, it's 25 million. But they still want in. So we're like, okay, here's the deal. The ZOR that they came in on would sign their deal with the understanding that I don't know if you'll ever get a license. It may be 10 years. I'm going to ask her half the money. Justin does this as a consulting agreement, which I think is brilliant. And you guys are going to love this for your candidate and for yourselves. But the point is that I'm making is they are out there. They want in and they're hungry for it, saying, oh, well, it's going to be really too hard for you to get licensed, and all the rest is going to put you in a situation where they're just going to go to another brand. And right now more brands are coming in. Justin and his team have this down. They've figured out how to do this. They've been doing it the longest. So pay attention to this, and go ahead, Justin.
Take it away, Justin, from Unity Road.
All right. Thanks, guys. That was quite the introduction. I appreciate that. It's nice to see some old friends on here and some new faces. So appreciate you guys having me. Can you hear me okay? And can you see my screen?
Yep, we can hear you and we can see your deck.
Wow. That never happens first try. All right. So as these guys said, my name is Justin Livingston. I've been in franchising about 18 years. I've franchised concepts like the Coyote Ugly Bar concept. Ziggy's Coffee came originally from Maui Wowie Hawaiian. So I've been banging around franchising for a long time, and got the call from an old colleague of mine that said, hey, I think we can franchise cannabis. And I said what everybody said, especially 4 or 5 years ago, no, you can't. And he said, but I think we can. Us, you, me, our cannabis folks that we have here, and the 200 lawyers we have on retainer, I think we can get it done. And I think we can pioneer this thing. And I gave them the old pioneers get arrows where settlers get land. And the reality is we both are those kind of guys that kind of like mounting the hill and taking the arrows. So we went ahead on this adventure together of trying to combine franchising and cannabis. And here we are. We at the same time we met Holly and Jason, and so we've been talking a lot about doing something together for a long time. So the fact that we're actually here now is very, very exciting. So they said I have 20 minutes. Typically I can't say hello in 20 minutes, so I will try to fly through and won't spend a lot of time on stuff that you guys know. I spend a lot of time trying to explain franchising to cannabis people and cannabis to franchising people. So I'm thrilled to have an opportunity to work with you all who know at least a little bit, if not a lot, about both sides. So we'll talk a little bit about the industry. We'll talk about who we are, which I think is probably why a lot of us are here. And then we'll talk about where we're looking to go, a couple different agreement opportunities. And then I want to open it up for you guys to grill me, ask some questions. So here's why we're all here, right? It's an amazing market. I'm not going to bore you with numbers. You guys all have this probably on your decks too. It's a huge market now. We work in B's, not M's, for billions. And it's just going to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so for us to be able to offer folks an opportunity to have a little piece of this pie can be life-changing and family-changing and legacy-leaving and community-changing and things that we're really, really excited. That's why I came here. I wasn't set out in my mind to do this in particular, to try to franchise an industry that had never really heard of franchising. And then we found out how desperately franchising was needed to kind of help stabilize and move forward this very fragmented industry, and how much franchising needed something fresh, something new, not a new spin, not a new take, not a new chicken wing, but a new opportunity, a new industry, and an opportunity that has AUVs that'll change lives for generations to come. So that's kind of why we're here. Very, very excited about that. We like this piece as well. It was said earlier, so I won't spend any time on it, but this is creating jobs. The stigma is changing. People are more and more accepting about cannabis products and the things they can do both recreationally and medicinally. And so the conversation is getting easier. We're certainly out of the closet and making a lot of noise. And the more Americans embrace this and all over the world, the better off this is going to be, not only kind of from a communal aspect, but from a legislation aspect. You guys know this cold, but the opportunity just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger as more states come on. And as you guys know, and we can always talk about this individually as you have candidates who are available, just because something's legal doesn't mean we can go there. And Holly was talking about Florida. That's a great example. Arizona is a great example. Illinois right now is a pretty good example. So people, I think, who don't understand the cannabis side of things, and I didn't at first, thought, hey, if it's legal, I can go sell a franchise agreement there. And the reality is, as we all know, that's not true. And so we'll be very targeted in our approach, kind of spear fishing, not net fishing. I'm just excited to see Peter on here and talk about lead generation as well. Big, big industry, lots more coming, lots of new states coming on board. You guys know all this, so I won't spend more time. This deck is then accessible to all of you guys too. So I'll put some of the stuff in here just in case you want to pull numbers. We've got a really strong depth of bench that's always looking at numbers. So who's Unity Road? Who are we? And why do we get to play in this game? The reality is we wanted to bridge the gap. I said earlier, franchising needed cannabis as much as cannabis needed franchising. And so we're excited to be able to kind of pioneer bringing those two together. It'll not only help both industries, but we wanted to open the doors for other concepts. And we're thrilled now that there are other concepts. We talked to them at MJ BizCon and different conferences, and people go, wow. I remember reading about what you guys were doing back when we were kind of thinking about doing this. And we love that. We love paving the way for more opportunities so that people have a diverse selection of franchises to choose from, as they do in every other industry. So who are we? First, we were Green Man. That's when I got that phone call and they said, we've got a really cool company that knows cannabis inside and out. Green Man was a company. It's a couple of dispensaries here in the Denver area. They have huge AUVs. Christian, who was one of the founders of that, has been doing this literally since it was legal to do. I think his first dispensary was two huge dudes with backpacks and what's now affectionately referred to as the Green Mile in Denver. Soon we brought a bunch of companies under one umbrella, and so we formed one cannabis group. And so you'll still see one cannabis group or OCG a little bit around as some parent companies, but then we worked together under one cannabis to launch Unity Road. And Unity Road is really that intersection of cannabis and your future, and it's about keeping things local and keeping money in your neighborhood, on your street. There's a lot of really cool marketing plays that happen around the Unity Road brand. So from a outward facing standpoint now, Unity Road is all you'll see. But for those of you who have been around a while, my favorite was sitting at a consulting conference and I sat down as Unity Road and I said, oh, finally, it's only been this one cannabis group from the beginning. And now I'm glad to be talking to somebody else. And I flipped my card over. And of course we had that logo as well. So for a long time, we were pretty lonely, and I'm excited to have a lot more of you all involved. So what are we? We're a dispensary franchise. We are vertically integrated. We have, as Holly said, Item 9 Labs as our product line, exceptional award-winning product line. We grow out of Casa Grande, about an hour outside of Phoenix in Arizona, and we will be bringing our product, the Item 9 product, as one of our halo products at all of our dispensaries. As you all know, through several different, very difficult paths in every state that we open. But ultimately, from a franchise standpoint, it's dispensary focused. We're going to help people get into retail. We want to build that kind of national brand. MSOs are kind of a bad word here, as you guys know. These big MSOs, although frankly, a lot of them haven't survived, but these big MSOs would come in and spec buy real estate and really just take all the money out of the community, as where franchising does exactly the opposite, right? We are putting money into the community, keeping that money local, empowering local owners and local families, and changing lives. So we want to focus on that national brand to have all the benefits of brand consistency and marketing and depth of bench and expertise and getting licenses on all of those things. We want to do it with a focus on being very, very local. For your candidates, why Unity Road? This is probably the understatement of the year that you guys all know inside and out, but man, this is hard. Evelyn kind of said earlier when she got in, and I was the same way. I got in and thought franchise is a franchise is a franchise, right? I think a lot of franchise folks think that. As long as the widget is not completely different, I can sell, if I can sell a wing, I can sell a sandwich. If I can sell a blow bar, I can sell a facial bar. All of these things seem to be very similar. And I agree in franchising that pretty much is the case oftentimes. Obviously, it's not the case here. Because of the regulation, balancing profitability and compliance, even getting a license to get into the darn industry is incredibly wrought with potholes. And so you might as well have an expert riding shotgun. So what are we offering? And this is, I think, the big takeaway compared to a lot of concepts out there. We have 120 years of collective legal cannabis experience. That's on our team. That's not through consultants and people we know and this guy we met one time at a dinner. On our team, we've got an impact. I think this is actually much higher now, but over 120 years of cannabis experience and over 60 years of franchising. So we're not franchise guys who are trying to figure out cannabis. We're not cannabis guys who are trying to figure out franchising, but really have some of the best of both of those industries under one roof. I think that's a really important point of differentiation for folks who are looking to find a safer route into this. Somebody who's not just trying to figure this out one way or the other, but having that depth of bench on both sides allows us to help in every single aspect in finding a location, getting your license, balancing profitability and compliance, having banking relationships, training, product acquisition, supply chain, all of the different things that make this tough. We've got depth of bench that have been doing this a very, very long time. Little glimpse into what our stores look like. I think from a dispensary standpoint, one of our points of differentiation is that we consult. We sell by education. And so we're wanting to make sure that people, we have a real responsibility right now because a lot of people are kind of curious. They're new. There are folks who have certainly been doing this a long time. They know exactly what they want. They come in, they come out, they're part of our VIP program, no problem. But there's also people who've never tried cannabis before, or the girlfriends are in town for a concert and they want to find a product, or buddies are in town for a golf show, or I'm trying to deal with some joint pain or PTSD or whatever it may be. There's such a broad spectrum of why people use cannabis. And so if you walk into some dispensaries, they don't look so nice, they don't feel so safe, that doesn't give a new consumer that warm fuzzy. And if they say, I want cannabis, somebody says, here's our most expensive, most potent flower, very likely they're going to have a bad product experience, and you could lose them not as a customer, but as a cannabis user altogether. And so we take a lot of responsibility in educating consumers and asking those questions to guide them towards the best product for them in that moment, which gives them the best product experience, but also the best customer experience and creates that loyalty. Our stores look nice. They're very shoppable. Of course, different state regulations will require certain things, walls here, separation there, pick up, product in front, product in back, depending on the state. We've done all of those different things. But the key is it's safe, it's clean, it's shoppable. You can walk around, you can ask questions. You don't have that deli style where you stand in line and you can feel the eyes burning in the back of your head as people are waiting for you to get out of their way. It's a much more relaxed and great shopping experience. Very clean, very bright colors. Where are we now? So we started really talking about this in 2018 out of Denver, where I'm at. And we have now brought in over 20 groups in 10 states. We are looking now, we've won a bunch of licenses. We have our first franchise location opened up last year in June in Boulder, Colorado. Since then, we've won licenses in Maine, Ohio, Michigan. While we've just broke ground in South Dakota, we won 3 licenses in New Mexico. We've acquired 2 more corporate locations in Colorado. We acquired and opened a store in Oklahoma. So lots of different spread and expertise in navigating the differences from market to market. And you're going to see this popping up. I think we'll probably do another 10 to 11 here by the end of the year, just organically of what's in the pipeline. We're a publicly traded company, which actually makes me not able to talk about a lot of things, which is I'm not well suited for that. But I'll tell you that I think that number is going to be a lot bigger, and it's going to span some pretty exciting borders. I'll just say that. So lots happening here in the coming months. With that acquisition that Jason talked about, it being part of Item 9 Labs, INLB is a publicly traded company. We are technically incorporated out of Phoenix, Arizona, with a team in a couple of other different states. Just a couple of shots about the exterior views of the branding and what we look like inside. This store is an acquisition, and so that's an important distinction too. As an acquisition, we have an opportunity to go into existing dispensaries that are for sale or struggling and convert them into a Unity Road store. And finally here, let's get into a little bit about that depth of bench. And so we talk about purchasing power, again, kind of being the anti-MSO. We have an opportunity to leverage relationships that we have nationally that have representation in different states. We've got those proven processes. We talk a lot about compliance and making sure that we're not operating in that gray area that gets dispensaries in trouble, with a lot of tracking, planning, incredible marketing support from an incredible marketing team. We help with all of the employee training and selections of a very unique employee, as you can imagine, in this industry. And ultimately, as you're making this kind of money, we're looking for folks who want to be involved in their community. There's a real opportunity here with these AUVs to give back and make a huge impact. These are the requirements. We all know this. It's an expensive thing to get into. Not a lot of funding, although fingers crossed on a couple of cool things happening. 100,000 franchise fee for a single, 250 for a 3-pack. Average investment if you're starting from scratch, about $1 million to 2.5, depending on the market. We do a lot of work on timeline. One of the things that was said earlier, I think by Evan, which I think is a really good point too, which is if somebody is telling somebody, or if a candidate thinks they're going to buy a franchise and open like you would any other franchise, they just simply don't understand the industry. And so for us and for brokers and for anybody who touches candidates looking to learn about this industry, it's about making sure that they understand that this is a long road. Acquisitions can move much, much quicker, and I'll talk about that in a second. But if you're looking to, we just did a deal in New York, that is going to be a long road, right? It's going to be a long time before we understand all the rules and all the laws, and then the license applications come out and the evaluation. Ask our franchisees in Illinois who got caught up in all of the nonsense there. It can be a very, very long time. So we're uber transparent with folks to make sure that they fully understand what they're getting into and what a long time this can take. A little bit of numbers we just talked about. I guess we can skip through that. Royalties, marketing fee, these are all pretty standard things that I think you guys have probably seen before. Well, 15 to 20 employees per store. And our stores are 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. As we talked about earlier, just because a market is legal doesn't mean that we're targeting there. We're excited to kind of take a look at what's coming in Mississippi, as well as the Carolinas and Rhode Island. These states in blue are where we're really targeting for different opportunities. Licensing is fairly simple in New Mexico right now, acquisitions only, but lots of opportunity in Colorado. Some of you may have been on our email list and seen that just come out. Great opportunities for acquisitions in Colorado, Oklahoma, Missouri, Michigan, Virginia, and then of course as New York comes on, as well as working through the processes in Maine. Last point here, I promise, and I'll open up to Q&A. Hopefully I haven't totally blown my 20 minutes, but there's 3 different ways to come into our system. The first way is through a consulting agreement. The problem with signing a franchise agreement in a state that we're not sure we can get them a license, outside of the fact that it's icky, I think is the appropriate term, is that it just creates this, you're tying up a lot of cash. It creates some real skepticism on the buyer. And so for us who are working in states where people want to get in line, but they don't already have an opportunity, we do a consulting agreement. They pay half the franchise fee. They get all the benefits of the franchisor with a singular focus on getting them a license. That might mean real estate as well, depending on the state. Once they get that license, that converts into the full franchise agreement, and then it's a very normal deal. But this allows us to do business and also sleep at night with folks who want to get into a state where we simply don't know what the odds are of them getting a license. New York is a great example. New Jersey is a great example. Illinois was a great example. So that's one avenue that somebody can go down if they live in one of those states. Second one would be, I have a license and I am looking to get into a franchise. I have the piece of paper, but I need the roadmap. And so that would be a traditional franchise agreement, and we'd work to put that license to good use. And the last one is the acquisition. And so Colorado is the most common state for this right now, although you could do it in other markets, Michigan, Oklahoma with residency, Missouri, there's some opportunities, but this is, I'm not going to apply for a license, I'm going to buy a dispensary with a license. If you are not on our email list and you didn't get it, I've got about 12 in Colorado right now, ranging from a total sales price of about 2 million to 6. A lot of owner carry, some of which only have 600,000 down. And those are opportunities that are available to purchase right now in Colorado. As we continue to corporately acquire stores, those will also be available. We're not trying to own a bunch of corporate stores. We buy those because getting a license is a pain in the butt. It's a very long and tough process with a lot of risk involved. And so by doing the corporate acquisitions, we have opportunities for folks that can just walk into a Unity Road branded store with lots of financials to see and be able to work towards getting their store up and running much, much quicker without the risk. So they go through a very traditional franchise process. For those of you coming from franchising, you know this process. We go through a mutual investigation, make sure it's a really good fit, get them out here to meet us here and see some stores in Colorado, see our corporate headquarters and farm in Arizona, have some fun, make sure that it's a good cultural fit for both of us, and then make an educated decision about one another. I will stop talking now. I think I went a little bit over. Sorry, Jason. Sorry, Holly. But that's kind of who we are in a nutshell. I love talking about this stuff. I love talking about markets. If you have questions on any aspect of this whatsoever, I'm happy to share the little bit of knowledge that I have accumulated over the years, and I will open it up to some questions now.
That was very well done. You have a great presentation. It's very well put together, Justin. I dropped the deck in the chat for anyone who wants to click on the Dropbox link. All of the assets for Unity Road, including this deck, are in that folder. And if you want to say something, just let questions go.
We're seeing a lot of feedback, and I'm getting some texts. Everybody really likes what you've done. Let me see if I can stop your sharing.
Oh, I can probably do that too.
Okay. Yeah, just really good comments coming back. So obviously, guys, this is a brand to watch. So they've started this, they pioneered this, they know they've learned the hard road. And honestly, they paved the way for us. You know, when he talked in the beginning about the arrows and whatnot, we understand that, guys, because we're the first one that is doing the franchising on the level that we're doing as a brokerage. So, and again, Justin and us, we sat in a hotel room in Cancun chatting about, you know, the industry, and knew we'd work together one day. So this is 3 years plus or so later, and here we all sit. So if you have some questions, let's jump those in now, okay? I have a couple, but I want to open it up to you guys.
Probably the best, probably one of the best, displays that I've seen. It's very thorough. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
I know that we've had a couple folks recently. I don't know if you guys have met Robert Pouts. He's on the call here, but he brought me into a couple calls from people that are looking for franchise models similar to this, I think. So definitely something we'll probably be talking about in the near future. But once again, thank you so much for that presentation. It was great.
Thanks, appreciate that.
And I guess I'll speak. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I have someone in New Jersey, and they're going to fill out the little questionnaire today. I sent them over the link, and just questioning. New Jersey is transitioning over to recreational or they're already recreational? And if they are, is the process there easy? Because your product looks like perfect, like a perfect fit for the person that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so we can probably get into the weeds offline, Robert, but I'll just tell you that New Jersey is difficult. They put some rules in place that made it pretty limiting. We found a path forward. And so we were actually submitting, we have 5 groups in New Jersey that we have submitted or are submitting for. We wanted to be first in those applications. I think the first time you could turn them in was March 17th or something like that. Our license team is amazing. They were all over it and got these guys submitted pretty quickly. There was a cap for a minute that allowed us, so we closed New Jersey because to do the right thing by our current franchisees, we couldn't expand. That cap shifted by the way we structured the deal. So there is opportunity for us in New Jersey right now, but, and this is a really big but, because of the timing of it all, they have to have real estate already. What we found is that real estate in New Jersey, because of the strict guidelines and the counties that opted out, it is just, if they don't have it, we won't be able to get it for them in time to catch this round. I mean, and this round is a bit wishy-washy because it's kind of a rolling deadline, but the real estate is the huge problem right now in New Jersey. But I just heard from somebody yesterday, and I had just said, we're really kind of not moving forward in New Jersey with additional people. And then somebody called me yesterday and lives in a town where he has the spot that is zoned for cannabis and he owns it. So yeah, we're moving forward really quickly with him. But somebody who just is initial curiosity and hasn't done that due diligence and have that real estate, it's going to be really, really difficult right now. I'm not sure we can get him in this round.
Yeah, I like to say, I think that's a really good answer for New Jersey, but I also tell people, because this is what I truly believe, is in emerging markets, you have kind of 2 opposite extremes to getting into a new business. And one of them is it's super easy, which means it's super saturated and everybody's going in, and your chances of keeping strong margins are just racing to the bottom. And you have the other side of the spectrum where the barrier to entry is extremely high and your competition is not very saturated, but you have to jump through some hoops to get there. And so to me, getting in as soon as you can and just staying the course long enough for things to mature around you is, I think, still the best play. If someone plans on getting into the industry at all, waiting isn't a good idea. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, so Oklahoma, New Jersey, right, Jay? I mean, those are the 2 states that kind of, I think, personify what you just said. Oklahoma, I think, is 3,000 licenses. If you can spell pot, you can get a license. Real estate is tough.
$2,500 license, $2,500. All you have to have is a residency.
It's really hard though, but it's hard there with real estate now too, because there are so many dispensaries and failing dispensaries. It is BOGO City in Oklahoma. It's a really strange market, actually. But in New Jersey, the one thing I would say, Robert, is that if they can be patient, and I don't mean like it's going to take a couple of weeks. I mean, like, could be a couple of years. Those are the people we like to talk to. And so if people are like, listen, I don't care when this happens, man, I just want to be in. I want to be in with you guys. And I'm having some of those conversations too. They know that we're moving forward with the group already. They know that if they don't have real estate, they're just not part of that initial group. But I'll tell you this, while they wait, depending on where they are, and depending on if New York really goes forward with these strong residency requirements, perhaps New York won't be an option. But while they wait, throw your hat in the ring for Connecticut. Like the odds in Connecticut are really low. They're giving out, I think, 6 licenses, but it's like $250. So while you wait, there are things to do. You don't have to just sit and wait. You can, or you can look at acquisitions in other markets. If somebody's like, I live in New Jersey, I never leave New Jersey, I want to be in New Jersey, I'm a New Jersey guy, but whatever, fine. But if they want to throw their hat in other markets and look at acquisitions like in Colorado or Michigan or Missouri, or if they have an uncle who lives in Oklahoma, or if they want to throw their hat in the ring in Connecticut, there are things we can be doing while we wait. But patience is really going to be the key for these guys.
Yeah, I think there's one last thing I wanted to add to that. Unity Road has an incredibly impressive licensing attorney team, and we also have one. So when the candidate comes in, if they're just going to say, I want to get in when the chime is right, so I'm going to be in now, and I'll wait until the opportunity presents itself. Our licensing group shoots over opportunities right when they find them, and they're on Capitol Hill, lobbyists. They actually wrote the bill in several states, I think 3 states now. and and Justin's team does similar things. So who do you think is going to have that first opportunity when it comes in? I mean, and they get snatched up like that when they come in too. So
Right.
it's better to be there. You have to be at the right place and the right time. So if you put yourself in the right place and just wait, the right time will present itself.
I've got two things. One is, Justin, if you could send over at your convenience a list of states you'd like to target. We can really put that together with our team and geo-target, and they can, spend their advertising appropriately. The second is states that you already have licenses that you don't have, maybe candidates. We can fill those. This will be quicker. And then finally, I said two things, that's three. What's the deal in Florida? Can you, if one of our key brokers comes in with a guy that's got 15 million, wants to jump in and get into Florida, and all he wants is Florida, nothing else in the world, and will wait as long as it fucking takes, excuse my language. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Florida was a case study of the worst possible way to handle this. I mean, truly, they were early, so that was good. But the lottery,
we were on.
I mean, the lottery, and then, oh, by the way, if you won the lottery, you can do 32, no, 37, no, it's vertical. I mean, it was just crazy. The Ontario, Canada matched it. So it was like crazy for crazy with the lottery at the same time. But those are the only two markets that are that tough. From an operational standpoint, it's great, right? Average dispensary, medical only in Florida, doing, I think last year at 8.9 million. It's an incredible market to be in. Things are changing. Those first pieces of paper that got out, I think one sold 3 weeks after the lottery, and I think it went for $72 million just for the piece of paper. It was literally a lottery ticket. It was insane. If the key, I think, for what you said, Holly, is I don't care how long it takes. If somebody's like, I will be here and I want to do it through you, and I'm okay putting my name on the list and giving you a little cash that's going to sit around. This is why New Jersey, Robert, Florida, this is why we have the consulting agreement. It's $50,000 in the grand scheme of things. That's not very much money. But it holds your spot. It gets our attention. It connects us so that if you are going to go forward, you're going to go forward with us. But if we're going to seek something, you're our guy. That's kind of what that $50,000 in that consulting agreement does. Is it says you're our guy. And but yeah, we will have 70 places in writing before they sign on the dotted line that says this is going to take a very, very, very long time. As long as they're okay with that. And again, maybe they want to play around in some other markets. Maybe they're waiting for Florida, and all of a sudden the Carolinas jump on board. Terrific. That's a real possibility.
Advice.
Yeah. And we had, just to add to the Florida thing, we had our event, our CANNABIS10X event in August last year in Clearwater, Florida at the 5-star resort. We saw some of you guys there. It was a really great time. We invited in a closed private meeting next door to that big room that you guys were in, some of the Black Farmers Association. So Florida opened up 19 new licenses. So they previously had 22 licenses that they issued period ever. And those 22 licensees, you had like 5 real players that were really dominating the market. And, like Justin was saying, they originally had like 30 some retail units that they could have, but now they've made it unlimited. So 1 license, unlimited retail, but you have to build out your entire supply chain, and that's not cheap. So he mentioned a $72 million sale it was a resale for a license. I saw a $50 million resale for a license. That's not a new license application. These new license applications, I think, are $60,000. So if we get in there with the right brand, we keep trying to pave the road to keep a deal fresh so we can stick it in there. Right. So we were negotiating that in August. We had a very large investor. I think he had just sold another cannabis business for $200 million, very well capitalized. And we had the Black farmers in for the social equity, because that's what the 19 new licenses were really focusing on. Although you don't have to qualify for social equity to get into Florida, but it really helps. Right. So that we are very excited about Florida. That's where we are. And we're kind of like what Justin said, no matter how long it takes, we're going to have something going on in Florida.
Are you open to looking at some of that, Justin, as well? The things that Jason kind of paves the way with the Florida Farmers Group.
Of course. One of the things I'm most excited about with this group is Jason and Holly and I have talked about is just this is a really tough thing to do, cannabis. And a lot of us have been in franchising a really long time and have never seen anything like this. We are absolutely stronger together. And so the more doors that we can open for each other, work together as a team opposed to competition, the stronger we're all going to be for it, and the stronger the industry will be because of it. So absolutely would love those conversations.
Okay.
Awesome.
We've got another deal similar to this in New York, which we'll talk to you about offline.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, so that's all him. He's like making these like magic things with people where
Potential
if you
time
tell
wasters.
Jason you can't do it, that's when he's like hell, I can't do it. So it's good, but we're all kind of like that on this call, or we wouldn't be here. So if there's not any more questions, we hate to go over because you guys are great to be here, and all of this is going in the Dropbox folder. Obviously, this is a brand launch. If you look in your Dropbox folder, all of the brand launches are in there, so you can access that. Justin's contact is right here. Make sure you reach out to him. If you just have questions about candidates or you just want to talk through the process, obviously he's available. And of course, Evelyn is our lead cannabis ambassador of Cannabis Brands. So she has already had a pre-talk with Justin and also knew him from before, but she's here to answer any questions and work through any details that you have as well.
All right. If there's not any other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I'll give you 10 seconds here to chime in. If you do have a question, go ahead and meet Justin. All right. We'll wrap it up. That's an alarm for another call we have to do anyway, so we're perfect timing.
Great call, guys. Great call.
Yeah,
Thanks all. Good to be here.
Justin.
Thank
Love
you.
it.
See you guys later.